Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mike and Beans. I'm Beans, and I'm with Mike.
What's up? What's up?
Today, we have a loaded episode for you today. The NBA draft is on Thursday, and that is just right up Mike's alley. College prospects, G League prospects. Mike was born ready for this episode.
Born ready, baby.
I was born ready, motherfucker.
So, we're going to get right to it. So, the top three picks of this draft, according to analysts, are very obvious. Cade Cunningham at 1, and either Jalen Green or Evan Mobley at 2 or 3, respectively. I think it doesn't really matter what order they go in. I think most analysts are projecting Jalen Green to go at number 2 and Evan Mobley at number 3. So, Mike, do you agree with these top 3 picks that they're obvious here?
Yeah, I think the 3, it could be in a different order. I mean, Cade's the best prospect in this draft. He's so good. I think Cade goes 1. I think that's certain. 2 is down to Mobley and Jalen Green. If it was me picking personally, I would take Mobley, but taking Jalen Green is not the wrong answer by any means. He could be a much better player than Evan Mobley. It's just I think there are a little more questions. I think you need defense if you're the Rockets, but if they love Jalen Green, I think it's a good pick. And then whoever falls at number 3 between the 2. I really don't think the Cavs go with Jalen Suggs. I don't think they need another point guard. They've drafted point guards so often. So I think 3 would be Evan Mobley. And if Mobley is taken there, you just take the best player available in Jalen Green. So I would agree. I think those are the 3 that are going top 3.
Now, what I've read is that Jalen Green is not, and he decided to not go to college, and he decided to go to the G League. Now, I didn't watch the G League a lot. Michael, I don't know if you watched the G League a lot.
I saw 1 or 2 games.
But apparently, Jalen Green is the real deal. He's 6'6", and he's, one of the most athletic guys, in this draft, obviously. And, the scouts, the NBA scouts are saying that he could be a, 20-plus point per game scorer in the future and a top 5 scorer in his prime in the future. So that's how hyped up Jalen Green is. Now, Evan Mobley, we got to see him in the NCAA tournament. He kind of shined in the NCAA tournament with USC. He led USC to the Elite Eight, and he was, but USC had a pretty good team, but Evan Mobley was a star, long 7-foot center. Now, I mentioned this to Michael before we started the tape, but I personally think that Evan Mobley's very skinny, and in the NBA, that can be a problem, but Michael, I'll give you credit here. Giannis Antetokounmpo, very skinny when he came into the draft, and look where he is now. 2-time MVP, NBA champion, and if Evan Mobley can put on some muscle, damn, he may be unstoppable. But Evan Mobley right now is still very athletic. He's long, going to be a great defender in the league with all those blocks. And yeah, so Evan Mobley is also a great prospect, but apparently the obvious number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham. We watched him at Oklahoma State. He could flat out just score at any time of the game. He can score any way, layups. He can shoot the ball. So Cade Cunningham is the all-around prospect here. So, Mike, what else you got for us?
Yeah, so just for the top 3, just to elaborate a little bit, Cade is, I think, the far and away best player. I think I have a big board of guys. It's Cade Cunningham, then there's a gap. Cade is so good. He plays like Luka Doncic. He's not as good. I think the real difference between the 2 is that Cade doesn't have that killer instinct to, okay, I'm getting 30. Like, you're not stopping me. I'll get 30. He likes to distribute the ball a little more. He's a very good passer. He's so good. I think that's a comparison. I don't think he's as good as Luka. I mean, that's such a high bar to be clear. Luka will be the best player in the league in a couple of years, but I think Cade is on that tier. Player comparison that I really like for Jalen Green. I don't have too many player comparisons, frankly, but Jalen Green's a lot like Zach LaVine. He can shoot it pretty well. Like, it's still improving. Zach LaVine was the same way. Can shoot it well. Not a good defender. Not good defensively for how athletic he is. But if Jalen Green entered a dunk contest next season, it wouldn't surprise me if he just dominated in it. He's so athletic. He can jump so well. And they had him shooting a ton of really tough shots in the G League Elite thing. So like when he was shooting shots, his percentages aren't great, but he also wasn't open. He was hitting some tough contested shots because I don't know if that's the offense they designed or they just didn't design any offense, but that was essentially what they had him doing. And for Evan Mobley, I think Evan Mobley's second best prospect in this draft. I'd have Jalen Green third, but they're neck and neck. Like if someone preferred Jalen Green or he fits better on a certain team, you take him. Mobley, he does need to put on some muscle, and I don't think he's super skilled offensively. Well, he is pretty damn skilled offensively. He's not super skilled. He needs to work on that more. He's switchable defensively. That's something NBA teams look for a lot because the only thing they run in the NBA is pick and rolls. So you need to be able to guard a pick and roll in multiple ways. Mobley can. Good athlete. I think he needs to work on some of the skill stuff, getting a better jump shot and stuff like that. But Mobley's also a really good prospect. That's what I've got there.
Now, one thing I just want to bring up here is the Detroit Pistons have the number 1 pick. And the Pistons have actually made the playoffs a couple times in the last few years, but they were awful last year. And I'm wondering, Mike, do you think that matters here for Cunningham? Like, is that better for him for a chance to get that Rookie of the Year, or will it hold him back with, not the best talent on the Pistons?
I think his numbers are going to be so good that it's going to be really hard to deny him just because he's that good. The thing I mentioned earlier with the killer instinct, though, that Cade doesn't have that Luka does, it really would show in that if he isn't surrounded with the best teammates around him, he's not going to be great because, like he likes passing more than Luka would. He likes passing more than a guy who as good as him almost should, which is almost a bad thing, but it's a good thing in a sense. So I think the team would probably need another guy who can really score the ball around him. Pistons don't have much, clearly, because they're picking first, so there's that. But I think Cade's the best player. I think Cade wins Rookie of the Year. I think Cade is one of the best prospects we've seen in the last 10 years. He's awesome.
All right, cool. Well, you're going to hear a lot of names from Michael in the coming minutes of this podcast that you never heard. So who do you think could be the biggest surprises in this draft, Mike?
Like going early? Like they go earlier than
No, not going early, but who's a sleeper? Who's a sleeper in this draft that you could see, late first round that, will play off like a lottery pick once the season starts?
So a couple guys I've seen like that. I mentioned guys like Bones Highland on another podcast who I really like, Quentin Grimes, late first round picks, but a guy that is really almost falling under the radar, I think his stock is rising as it should, is Chris Duarte from Oregon. He's one of those guys, it's going to be a weird list on a name, but like Donovan Mitchell, like Saddiq Bey, these were two guys that everyone who watched college basketball was like, why are they not going in the top 10? Like they're just that good. They do what they do so well. Mitchell rose late in the draft. The whole thing, like he probably around the time we're recording, like 3 days before the draft, 2 days before the draft, he was looked at as a late first round pick. Then the day of the draft, people are like, okay, this kid deserves to be going in the top 10 for like the national NBA media. College guys have been like, yeah, this kid is that good. Saddiq Bey was the same way. I wanted the Wizards to take him at 8. We took Avdia, who is okay. Like he's not great, but I think Saddiq Bey is still a better prospect. I'm still in on Saddiq Bey, but he's another guy like that who really should be rising on draft boards. He can really shoot the ball well. He plays good defense, great 3-and-D guy, and that's really what you're looking for. You're either looking for a star scorer in the NBA or a 3-and-D guy. It's pretty much that. Chris Duarte is a 3-and-D guy to a T. He can create for himself a little bit, but he is a very pretty jump shot. He's very good defensively. And NBA teams go like, oh, he's too old. Like, I think Duarte's 24. I'll just draft the best players for me right now because most of these guys won't be on the team they're drafted by in 5 years. So I'll take the guy who is going to be awesome for me right now. And you know what? I'll just run that risk. I don't understand the drafting on potential thing. I'll take a kid who is elite right now, who I think should and will help teams right now.
I'll say something about Duarte. According to The Athletic, in their mock draft, they have Duarte going to the Warriors at 14. And, like you said, a great shooter and a good defender. Who else better to be behind in that rotation than Steph Curry? You can learn from the best point guard in the league. So if you're Duarte, if you're Duarte, you probably want to go to the Warriors. But if for the Warriors and Duarte is there, I think that'd be a great pick. You can develop Duarte. And like you said, Duarte's 24. He's a senior coming out of Oregon. So, he's already got a lot of experience in college. And, the college and the NBA is a lot, different skill level rise. It's the real deal. But like you said, having, an older guy in this draft is not going to hurt any teams. He's going to be more experienced, more mature, and that'll definitely lead to, some better play in the NBA. So for Duarte, I kind of agree with you after what you said about Duarte. Duarte might be, the biggest steal here with his experience. And, if he can shoot the ball like like an experienced guy, then, the Warriors would be getting a great player here, if the Warriors decide to take him. But for anyone, if Duarte's there, later in the first round, you don't have to take him, but, it'd be a great pick. So, Mike, yeah. So, anyone else, Mike?
Yeah, another guy I like in this sort of role. Well, actually, I'm going to go with two. I'm going to be quick on these, though. Duarte is my main, top tier guy. I like Trey Mann out of Florida. I think he's a really skilled guard. He improved as a jump shooter. Yeah, that's right. You're Gator. I like Trey Mann. I think he's a good prospect. I think he's someone teams are falling a little too much on, and I think they need to pay attention. And actually, I'm going to go three. Sorry. Jared Butler is another guy I really like. Again, same thing. He had a heart issue. I think that's why he's falling. Or was it heart or lung? It was something like that. But he did get cleared, thankfully. He's a really good player. He can shoot it really well, defends really well again, 3D guy, can run point guard, can run the two because he plays bigger and taller than he actually is. I saw he was 6'3". I thought he was 6'6". So I'm shocked by that. I think Jared Butler's a guy who's going in the later rounds, who I think should be going earlier. And Sharif Cooper is one of the harder players to scout in this draft. I think he's really good, though. You don't get a guy, he played 5 games at Auburn, but he was so good in those 5 games. That Auburn team was so much better with him.
He made a very big impact.
So good. He's an elite guard, very quick, great passer. He does everything you need him to do if you want a lead guard in the NBA. So he is a guy that I'm looking in the late. He might even fall into the second round. It shocks me because I think he is a top 20, 25 guy in this draft.
Well, one thing I would like to bring up here is just the Baylor players in this draft. Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell. Now, Davion Mitchell is projected to go higher than Butler, but both played vital roles in Baylor's national championship run. Now, Baylor, there's expected to be, a close national championship between Baylor and Gonzaga. Probably the two best teams in the country facing off, obviously. But Baylor probably played their best game of the season defensively. They locked up Gonzaga for the whole game, and they I don't know if was it a surprise to see Baylor dominate like that? It wasn't really surprising to me.
I was surprised that they dominated. I wasn't surprised if they won the game by 7 points, but I was surprised that they controlled the game so easily. And Davion Mitchell was awesome in that game. He was so good. He's so good.
Yes, definitely. But anyway, those two Baylor players are, could definitely make an impact on an NBA team because, that Baylor team could freaking defend. That was probably the best defensive team that we've seen, in college in a long time. So, Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, right?
Yep, Jared Butler's the one I mentioned late first round. Yeah,
they will definitely be big-time players, hopefully, in the NBA, and they're steals if NBA teams pick them in the draft.
Yeah.
Now,
Davion Mitchell, I'm going to interrupt there because for the top 4 players, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Cade. I have a gap. Some people do, some people don't. Then Evan Mobley, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs. Mm-hmm. And then the next tier is different guys. Most people will have Scotty Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga, guys right here. Davion Mitchell's my 5th best player in the draft. I completely agree with everything you said. He's very good defensively. You don't score on Davion Mitchell. His nickname's Off Night for a reason. If he's guarding you, you're going to have an off night. He's that good defensively, super skilled, very good three-point shooter. That was a worry with him when he entered college. He was shooting 25%. I think he shot 44% his senior year. Amazing. Great defender. He's everything you want in a guard. Great defender, defends elite, playing the pick and roll really well. Good vision, great shooter. I think and super quick. He is a guy that teams really should be looking for. I completely agree with you there.
All right, well, so I'm going to ask you about the Wizards. So both Wizards fans, just a reminder, sadly. But the Wizards have the 15th pick. So who do you see the Wizards taking, or who should we pick?
I want Duarte. I mentioned Duarte earlier. Duarte is an elite shooter. He's a 3-and-D guy. The Wizards have been looking for a 3-and-D guy for years upon years. They took Avdia, who is a mid. He's like an average. He's a generalist. He's good at everything, basically, but he's not great at one thing. They need a guy who is great at something, smart skills. I really want Duarte. Duarte's a guy I'm really looking at. I think Franz Wagner is a guy you could look, but he's going to go ahead of where we picked. Same with Corey Kispert, elite shooter. So if let's say those guys are all taken, because they all are. I don't think Duarte is like consistently projected to be, but he is in that range. He could be. I think another guy the Wizards are going to take and look at is Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is a 3-and-D guy. He was at Virginia last year. He played first 2 years at Rice. Good player, good shooter, good defender. He's not as good as Duarte or these guys, but I think he's a good player. Game does tend to slow down for him, which is a good thing. He isn't really going to do anything else. He's going to hit threes, play defense. You're not going to see him attack the rim. You're not going to see him really do anything else. Good defender, not a great defender. I think part of his skills defensively was that Virginia system, and it really allowed him to flourish. I think Trey Murphy's a guy the Wizards are going to look at because the Wizards really aren't looking for like a lead scorer type player. They're not looking for a guy who can create his own shot. They're really looking for a set 3-point shooter. Maybe they trade out of the pick too. If someone like Trey Murphy isn't there somehow, like someone trades up and steals the pick, it wouldn't stun me if the Wizards trade out of the pick. But I'm looking Duarte, Trey Murphy. Those are the two guys I think the Wizards are going to be taking.
All right. Well, anything else to conclude this NBA draft?
Well, I might as well run through mock draft. I might as well run through my mock draft, be a little quick. All
right, make it quick. Make it quick. We already know your top 3.
Yep, top 3. I'll mention again, Cade Cunningham going 1 to the Pistons, Jalen Green going 2 to the Rockets, 3, Evan Mobley to the Cavs, 4, I have Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, you saw him play at Gonzaga, really good player. I think he fits with the Raptors. I think they're going to move on from Lowry. They take Jalen Suggs. You start off quick. Really good player. 5, the Magic love taking wingspan, guys with really long wingspans. So it's down to Kuminga and Scotty Barnes for me. Scotty Barnes is a longer wingspan. They're taking Scotty Barnes. Good player, lead the team pretty well, very good defender. I'm just not sold on him being great at the NBA level, but they don't need him to be great. He's going to be very, very good, and that's what you need. 6, I think the Thunder trade out Kuminga. Don't know a ton about him. Raw prospect there. 7, I have James Bouknight. I think he's really good. Out of Connecticut, can really play, really score the ball for the Warriors. That would be awesome. 8, Moses Moody, Arkansas. People mention him as like an elite shooter. He is not an elite 3-point shooter. He is a good 3-point shooter, but he's elite in the mid-range game. He can create shots for himself. I think he's a good fit there. 9, the Kings taking Josh Giddey. I don't know anything about the international guys straight up. I've just seen his name in the top 10, so I'm like, oh, seems like a Kings pick. 10, Franz Wagner from Michigan. I think he's going to be a very good player. He does everything so well, and he has so much room to grow. He grew so much in his college career that I think is going to continue in the pros, and it's a good fit for the Grizzlies. 11, Kai Jones, athlete. 12, Corey Kispert. Mentioned Kispert. 13, I have Davion Mitchell. Steal for the Pacers. Absolute steal. 14, I have the Warriors trading out to take some international kid, Alfred Sengun. I think someone takes him there. 15, I have the Wizards taking Duarte because I want us to. Solely because I want us to. 16, Isaiah Jackson. 17, Jared Butler. 18, Zaire Williams. 19, Bones Highland. Love him. 20, Jaden Springer. 21, Ayo Dosunmu. 22, Usman Garuba. 23, I have the Rockets taking Keon Johnson. And 24, my last pick that I'm going to talk about, Jalen Johnson. That's all I got right there.
All right. Well, we got to hold Michael accountable for this, and we'll see how he does. We'll talk about it on the next episode and what happens, but we're going to see how good Michael gets his picks. So definitely will be interesting to see. The way we talk about Duarte doesn't seem like he's going to be there for the Wizards, but we hope for the best.
He better. They're going to mess up the pick somehow. I don't trust this Wizards team. They're going to mess it up somehow. They'll take someone that you're not even like considering maybe as a first round pick. Like they'll take, I don't know, BJ Boston or something, just randomly. They'll just pull something out and be like, all right, this is the guy we scouted since high school and we loved him. They'll do a Troy Brown again. So
yeah, it wouldn't be a surprising move from a Washington organization, but we'll see what happens. NBA draft is Thursday. Tune in if you're interested. All right, we're going to move on. So the MLB trade deadline is Friday, and it's very exciting for me to talk about this, but this year it's very sad for me to talk about this because the Nats, best pitcher, all-star, future Hall of Famer, Max Scherzer is most likely going to get traded. The Nats Oh, they've had a terrible, terrible second half start to the season. Our bullpens, well, our bullpen doesn't suck. Brad Hand sucks. I hate Brad Hand. He needs to go, and if Brad Hand's going to go, Daniel Hudson might as well go. We can probably get some value from him. Daniel Hudson is chucking 98 right now with a wicked slider, so he'll be very valuable for playoff teams. But the Nats are not a playoff team right now. And that's why Max Scherzer is probably the hottest name on the market. There are a lot of teams: Dodgers, Padres, Yankees. I think the Blue Jays were on there, and maybe like 4 other teams were on the list. But Scherzer's drawing a lot of value. He does have a very confusing contract, though. That's one thing I was reading. I couldn't really understand it myself. But, regardless, I do think Max Scherzer will not be on the Nats on Friday. He is supposed to pitch third. He is supposed to start tomorrow for the Nats. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. But if Max gets traded before our next episode, which I think he will, Max, thank you for everything. As a diehard Nats fan, you got us. You're a big key to our World Series in 2019. So thank you, Max. But other than Max Scherzer, one trade, there haven't been as many like big trades so far, except for Adam Frazier. Now, not many people know who Adam Frazier is. He was the second baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was an all-star. He's 4th in batting average, and he just gets a lot of hits. So he was traded to the Padres, and that boosts the Padres lineup. They already have 3 all-stars in that lineup. So if they put Frazier in that top 4, they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 all-stars. They have 4 all-stars in their top 4 with Tatis, Cronenworth, Machado, and now Frazier. So Frazier's, although the Padres don't really have room for him in the infield, I think they're going to move him to the outfield. So Adam Frazier, big pickup for the Padres. And then one more name to look out for is Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo is a power-hitting right fielder, and the Yankees. I think the Yankees were in big talks for Joey Gallo, but wherever Joey Gallo goes, he's actually a very good right fielder too. I think there were talks that he's going to win another Gold Glove in right field. So defensively, he's very good. These power hitters, they're very iffy on the batting average and stuff, but God, they can hit some bombs when they need to. So Joey Gallo.
Yankees.
Yeah, especially for the Yankees. So Joey Gallo, big name here. And that's all I got for the MLB. But like I said, it's going to be sad to see Max Scherzer leave. But it happens.
Where do you think Scherzer goes if he leaves? Where do you think he goes?
I've heard the Rays. Right now, the Rays are big on Scherzer because I think if whoever trades for him is not going to have to pay for this year, I don't think on his contract. Don't quote me on that. That's what I've heard. And the Rays, are small money organization, but they're one of the better, general managed teams in the league. They, no one thought they'd get to the World Series last year with the amount of money they had, and they did. So that's a possibility. But the big money teams, Dodgers, Padres, Yankees, they're all those teams are always in the hunt for these big names because they can afford them, and that's where the money comes in to play here. So that's my baseball talk. Now we're gonna move on to the Olympics a little bit. I'll start off on a good note. So Lydia Jacoby is 17 years old from Alaska, and she won the 100-meter breaststroke last night. So shout out to her. She did really. She surprised everyone because Lily King, I think, was favored in that, and Lily King got the bronze medal, and then a Australian got second with the silver medal. But Jacoby surprised everyone with that gold medal. So shout out to her. Great for Jacoby. Go Alaska. Go Alaska. They produce athletes too. Everyone, they produce athletes too. Now, on a more serious note, one thing I think is worth bringing up is U.S. gymnastics superstar Simone Biles took herself out of the team final for the United States because she wasn't really mentally healthy going in. She said she had never felt, she felt very anxious before the final, and she had never felt that way before. She was shaking and she couldn't sleep and stuff. So for all the athletes out there, for whoever's listening, it's okay you should prioritize your mental health over everything. If you're not feeling it that day, you're not feeling that day. No one should, judge you for that. But unfortunately, on the world's biggest stage, there's always going to be someone that does that. So Simone, takes a lot of heart to do that. So shout out to you, Miss Biles, because, you and Naomi Osaka are setting great examples on why, mental health is one of the most important things in the world. So Simone, Naomi Osaka, thank you for doing that. Now, we're going to move to shout outs. Michael, on a positive note, let's end on a positive note. What do you got for our shout outs?
All right, so I'm going to mention a little quick. I feel like people stop treating athletes as people in a sense. So I feel like that's something, just make sure you realize these are actual people. All right, into shout outs. I got a question for you, though. I made a big board. I'm going to have it rolling as graphics over some of the things when we're talking NBA draft. How many players do you think I listed? Just out of curiosity, because I went overboard.
No, I'll go 50.
Yeah, 115 players on my big board, baby. 115. I went way overboard late last night. Yeah, most of these guys, there's 60 picks in the NBA draft, and some of them go straight to the G League and stuff. So most of these guys aren't NBA players. I went overboard. Shout out to me, I guess. And another shout out, the football signed Jonathan Allen. You signed him. You re-signed. Awesome. Jonathan Allen's awesome. Love it. We're winning the Super Bowl this year. Shout out to you, Jonathan Allen. Let's go.
We definitely have the best defensive line in the league, no doubt.
So good. And quarterbacks, too. I mean, Heineke and Fitzmagic, best quarterback room in the league. You're not beating that.
All right. I got one shout out here. Alex Ovechkin re-signed with the Washington Capitals. He's a Capital for life, our captain. If he averages 33 goals for the next 5 years, he's going to catch Wayne Gretzky on that all-time list, on that all-time goal-scoring list. So it's interesting to see. But it's just so heartwarming to see Mr. Ovechkin, the grade 8, back in Washington for 5 years. Hopefully, he will continue his legendary goal scoring. And Alex, I'm just so happy to have you back. So, Alex, thanks for coming back. Ovi, love Ovi. But that'll conclude this week's episode of Mike and Beans. Thank you, guys, for joining us.
Peace.